Welcome to HeroQuest fans. Just going to do a little unboxing here. Yeah, so there have been several videos already. People have seen these. Spirit Queen's Torment. Retail version with the holographic layer there. Expansion pack. These came out in November. Prophecy of Telor, same thing. Very reflective. And then Path of the Wandering Monk, which has come out early. This is supposed to be January 15th. And it's not quite Christmas yet. Alright, through the magic of editing, I've removed the stubborn shrink wrap, and already I notice a difference with these boxes. They are smooth. There's no texturing of any kind on here. There's no linen finish like some of the other boxes. Looks like the shiny effect. See, is it on? Yeah, it's on all sides of the box. So whatever that holographic layer is. So this is the Spirit Queen's Torment, so no particular order. Let's open it up. People have seen this already. There's the... oh, this feels like a different textured surface. This is... I don't know, it feels like heavier. Whereas the like magazine pages feel about the same. Still got that stitching. So it looks like a little bit higher quality than the Mythic stuff. So of course people have seen this already. The changes in the potions to match Rise of the Dread Moon. There's your storyline. I haven't gone over this line by line to see what's different, but I know some changes happened here. So there was a paragraph here that was deleted, so no mention of the gods among the elven beliefs, at least of this particular character. You've seen this already, and then there are spoilers, and then of course the ending here. Amalgamash's video, he went through some of the changes, which I was a little surprised by. I was a little surprised by some of the changes, but they did more than just fix the typos. They like retypeset everything, so collectors won't be confused. So here's the dice. You want to see that? So they look green. They're not blue, so that there'll be no confusion between these and the Frozen Horror dice. So there's 6 of those. They look about the same quality. Weigh the same, translucent. So here are these figures. So they feel about the same as the Spectres in Rise of the Dread Moon. They're translucent. They're smooth and green. Okay, so you get just, this is Spirit Queen, so you just get what you see here. There's one of these Chaos Sorcerers, or Dread Sorcerers, I should say, the new lore. So it's the female one. These are all like, originally were Mythic tier and solid color. And you got 2 of these female goblins with the claws. Of course, I know it's not super easy to see the detail. The female abomination. Again with Spirit Queen's Torment, these female skeletons. No, these do not glow in the dark, unfortunately. Not that you play in the dark. Hammer orcs, you get 2 of these. So there's 2 of every character in here except for, oh yeah, and then the mummies. There's 2 of every character except for the Dread Warrior. You only get 1 of those. You gotta get the other set to get the other one. And only 1 of these sorcerers, which does not appear in the other package. Because on the back of the box it shows, for each one, it shows like the distributions of the figures. So anyway, this is still Spirit Queen we're looking at. So 6 of these green dice, and then, let me see here. Okay, in close-ups it looks like there's actually glitter inside the plastic for this. This one's a little gummy. There's some schmutz on there that you could clean off with soap. Probably just when they put it in the package. Yeah, these come out really easy out of the candy trays. They're not, you know, stuck in there hard. very easy to pull out, so good there, good on there. No tape loops. But there appears to be kind of a silvery mixture in with the red. So if you compare him to the other red heroes in the other packages, you'll see the difference. When I get the monk out, I'll show you what it looks like there. But this is the bard, the orc bard hero. And just like, see, I feel like I'm doing the same thing Amalgamash did on Ash Quest, but anyway, I gotta do it for myself. There's nothing in the bottom. I call this the candy tray. But unlike the game system that was released in 2021, you may actually want to keep this to store everything. Whereas the 2022 version was much better, the game system. Yeah, note the logo here. This is the new Avalon Hill logo. And of course, very sad to see that at least 2 of the Avalon Hill employees have been let go right before Christmas. Those massive layoffs at Hasbro, so shame on Hasbro for doing that. Hopefully it doesn't mean a downturn in the franchise, but please write your strongly worded and civil but constructively criticizing letters to Hasbro Incorporated. You may not be able to send their board of directors directly, but do what you gotta do as a fan. Okay, so this is linen finish. This is just the placeholder card, so you could use a dry erase on that just for fun. But yeah, these are the cards. So you got your artifact cards, and see, a lot of times, you know, it's like slightly zoomed in, but I don't know the exact thing. But yeah, it's the same linen finish. So there's the bard, and the rapier is the same price. All right, here's the inspiring tale, healing song, and lullaby. Everything's been reworded and reset, but the abilities are the same. These are the bard spells. I was thinking of like Bard's Tale from the old computer game days. Bard's Tale. But yeah, this is a new hero, and they do give basic instructions on how to use him in this book. This is the only instruction that they have on any of these new heroes on like how to actually use him. So let's see. Quest, Indian Quest. Here we go. So you can read that. So he takes over. Now the allies are different than the bard. So if you just get a regular orc. So my understanding is, yeah, in those quests where you get an orc ally, you just say, there he is. And he just has the same stats as a regular orc, except he defends with white shields like a hero. Like a good guy, like a mercenary. Whereas the bard is actually takes the place of a dead hero or is one of the 4. So you'd have to swap out one of the, like the dwarf or the wizard or whoever. And then you'd have these stats. But yeah, I can feel the greasiness on my fingers with that. So I'm going to clean that off with some dish soap. We've got the spell scrolls right there. So it kind of explains what it is. Anti-poison quill. Rabbit boots. This is a fan favorite. So again, these are all artifacts. And if you look at the back of the book, you should see the same ones referenced here, slightly smaller size. You're not meant to cut these out, but you can certainly photocopy them. And then it gives you a list of what's used from the game system. And yes, there are 14 quests in here. So, and that one goes for like $34, $33.99, I think is the MSRP. So I actually got these quite a while ago. But yep, they're out there. Kind of handling these cards. They don't feel quite as linen-y as Mage of the Mirror. Mage of the Mirror really had like pronounced texture on there, that linen texture. This feels more like Frozen Horror or one of those. Because Mage of the Mirror and Rise of the Dread Moon had really pronounced linen texture. So anyway, that's that one. Since they are kind of spiky, maybe this bottom card like protects it more from getting dinged up. Of course, you got the little paper loops. So you put that one back together. Gently press it back. It's always the ends that get split because it's just paper laid over. So that's what the back looks like. You've got your little story there, and it's hard to photograph because of the holographic effect. It's not super pronounced, but when you got the right light sourcing, it looks really cool. There's Prophecy of Telor. This was the first one that we saw. Expand your game system. So that's what the back looks like. You've already seen the story. And this is the one that I was looking forward to. I mean, without this, I might not have pledged Mythic originally. Because I read up on Stephen Baker and it was like, oh wow, it's him. He's come back to release, you know, new quests after all this time, and not just Rogar's Hall. So Prophecy of Telor. So the changes, there are only 13 quests in here, only. But you know, usually with these you're used to 10. So there's no solo quests, they're all group quests. So Stephen Baker. So some things have changed, some editing. I haven't looked at every single detail, but eventually it will. And there's the storyline there. A lot to do with the Talisman of Lore. No spoilers. And that's how the end looks. So they've changed that up. So there's Lightning Bolt, Water of Healing, Heal Body, and Rock Skin. And that stuff. So looking forward to that. Now with this one, as expected, we got the orange dice. Translucent. These are really orange, but very transparent, as you can see. Good quality. And a lot of big deal was made about the Warlock. And they both have this kind of like slightly lighter, like they mixed maybe some silver in there to give it kind of a lighter color. But yeah, this is the Mythic Gargoyle in red. It's even got the cracks in it, as was pointed out in another unboxing video. And then the Warlock Hero. So it's supposed to be, this is the demon form of it, which you could do anyway, but rather than it being gray. And then, okay, that went in a little harder. But otherwise those are in there pretty loosely. Okay, so there's the transparent gargoyle. So you get 2 copies of the gargoyle, just in the different colors. One the translucent orange and one the solid red, shiny red. And notice, again, you've got duplicates. So if you bought both these packs, you'd have 4 of these mummies. Just 2 would be orange and 2 would be green. Zombies. I know that's out of focus, but it's hard to see the detail anyway. Hammer Orc. Skeleton. I don't have much to say about these. It's just pretty much what it is. And of course, if you paint these, I know some people want to preserve the transparency, so they're gonna Goblin. Maybe just do a couple of washes, or maybe paint the eyes, or I don't know, something like that. But if you just want to spray paint the whole thing and make it green, make it white, make it gray, that's up to you. You just have more of them. And yeah, there's some schmutz on my fingers. I don't know, it's probably some oil or some wax that they put on their fingers when they're putting, you know, hundreds of these in some factory in China. There's the cards again. This is Prophecy of Telor. It's really on there. I'm gonna have to peel that off. Okay, you got the blank card again telling you which one it is. It's cardigans, comfortable sweaters, and then, so there's the Warlock, of course. Hero. Same as before. Same as before. Nothing has changed, just the formatting. I mean, like on the Bard's card, you could see it was kind of zoomed out, so you could see the character a little bit better. These are the spells. Nothing has changed. There's 3 of these, of course. Sphere. Dark Wings. I've never actually played with this character, despite having access to it this whole time. And yes, they did show pictures where this artwork had changed, but it's back to the original artwork. They had duplicated the Wizards, or the Wand of Magic on here for some reason, and they'd increased the price to 200, which some considered a good suggestion. They thought, oh yeah, 200 should be what it is. I mean, the character starts with the weapon, just like the Bard starts with the rapier, and the Rogue starts with the bandolier. It's just that if you had to buy another one, this is how much it would cost. So like if the character was killed, you brought them back with the elixir of life, and their weapon had been stolen by monsters, they could buy another one. Because an ice gremlin can't steal the weapon out of your hand. And the way the warlock works is it's the same stats as the wizard, so what other weapons can she use? A staff, wizard staff, daggers, that's it. Now, these are equipment cards, of course. So we got Potion of Restoration, it's 300. Potion of Magic, 400. So I think the price did change on one of these. I'm forgetting which one, but no, I don't think these two changed. I want to say it was like, there was one that was, oh yeah, it was the Lesser Healing. Okay, so this wasn't in here before. This Potion of Healing for 500 for 1d6. This is like the one that was included with, I always forget which one, if it was the Mage of the Mirror, or was it the Frozen Horror? One of them gave you a Potion of Restoration, and it was 1d6 for 500. I think that's the same one. Oh yeah, the Potion of Lesser Healing. I think this was 300 or 400, and now it's only 200. That's like the one change. And this whole card, the way it's designed and everything, this is exactly how it is in Rise of the Dread Moon. So they probably did Rise of the Dread Moon first and then revised these other ones. Potion of Battle. Someone pointed out that this one allows you to re-roll all of your attack dice, and that was a change, but I think that's the same as it always was. You can re-roll all your dice. The only one where you re-roll one of your dice is with the Fortune's Longsword. Once again, Prophecy of Telor, we've got our Potion of Battle, Spellscroll Rock Skin, Lightning Bolt, which didn't have a card before in the Mythic version, Water of Healing, that didn't have a card before either, and then Heal Body. It's like, what's the difference between these two? Not much. Basically the same old thing. So these are artifacts. Potion of Lesser Healing, it didn't exist. It was just Potion of Healing before. So that's just an adjustment. Again, similar to Rise of the Dread Moon. Textured. Got much more of a matte finish to it. A little bit of a, it's not just like the gloss that would leave behind fingerprints, I suppose, in the original. So a big thank you to Ribby, Bourbon and Board Games on YouTube, for doing some really in-depth comparisons and showing us, you know, the little fine details. He went through all of Hispa Zargon's errata, posted on Yield In, and showed where these two books, Prophecy of Telor and Spirit Queen's Torment, were corrected. So it looks like pretty much all the corrections that we were asking for have been corrected. Now, some of the things where it's just a little bit vague, or maybe you could take it a number of different ways, those really haven't been changed, but definitely the outright errors have been fixed. So now let's move to the Wandering Monk. Now this is definitely a matte finish. This is not textured in any way. It's kind of got a dry, smooth, maybe medium, no special texturing. And then you got this this little wrapping here. Kind of makes me think of the Rogue. It's not taped or anything, so you just take that off. Are there any secret messages this time? Losing oneself, one may find the world. Okay, so that's our secret message. Just like Rogaire of Elathorn had it, Cadre of the Ravens. So we got that secret message in Losing Oneself, one may find the world. Just like the Rogaire of Elathorn had that Cadre of the Ravens Veil secret message. So here's our box. I think everybody's seen this already. Our combat techniques crafted in reverence to the elements, uncompromising yet merciful, ruled by wisdom and discipline. It's kind of a fancier looking box. The other two were pretty plain other than the logo. Here's where linen finish would have helped a little bit, but I kind of like it. Yeah, nothing there. Very decorative, so a little diorama this time. So remove tab. It's actually a scroll, and it's tied with that tightly wrapped paper. So we can take it apart. Looks like you just slip it out of there. That's one of those holiday cookies. No, just kidding. It's like thick paper. Now they have a fake parchment smell. So yeah, other people have seen this before the World's End Tournament. This is what Carmine showed us at Gen Con. Hope he's doing well. Warriors, heed the call and test your mettle for glory and gold. So that looks like the Coliseum or the arena that they showed at Gen Con. Makes me think of Mortal Kombat again. Yeah, it's got some kind of... Yeah, there's definitely some texture. It's like parchment, fake parchment paper. Tournament, the first summer moon, void the wilds. Okay, so people were pointing out various interpretations of this map. Like you've got these little locations. If this corresponds to anything in Warhammer, probably not. Probably tended not to be. Is that a key? Is that a dagger? It just kind of goes in a circle. So some people were saying, well, if you look at it like this, it looks like something else. If you look at it like this, upside down, you got the oceans. It's anything like the world of HeroQuest that other people know. Because originally it was just the old world from Warhammer 3rd edition. So whatever that looked like. Advanced HeroQuest had a map, and Return of the Witchlord, which was released for the EU in 1989. See, I grew up with the North American version. That was 1991, actually. So they had removed the map. And so, yeah, you could hear different place names. The World's Edge Mountains instead of the World End Mountains. You know, they changed all the names in their deal with Games Workshop to make sure it wasn't including any material from Warhammer specifically. Know not the path, but the reason you will walk it. Okay. Let's just come out. Oh yeah, this thing comes out. So you can play with that if you want to. Without ripping it to shreds. Maybe. Might need a tool to get that taken apart. Well, anyway, here's the diorama. It looks very familiar. That symbol, okay, it looks like crossed swords. People were saying, oh, it reminds them of the Ogre Horde, the Ogre Throne, something like that. So you take that out. So yeah, rather than just tossing the box in the corner, so there's the cards. Wow, it feels so weird to have these now because for the longest time we've been using proxies. I mean, we printed them out like small size and just folded them over because you could see them online. So yeah, these feel like the same kind of linen finish. Again, not the super very, very textured linen like Rise of the Dread Moon or Mage of the Mirror. More like Frozen Horror. So yeah, you can see the monk style card. Everything's the same as what we've seen. And it tells you to tap the cards when you use them, basically. So that's how they work. I think a lot of people had questions about how it worked, but it's pretty self-explanatory. It's just that, if you've only heard about it and maybe skimmed the webpage, but you didn't read it carefully, you might not know. So yeah, just like Amalgamash and Ash Quest has shown us, this thing hasn't changed. One's got an asterisk, one doesn't. But as people have been asking questions, and I think it's mostly been confirmed, is that both the characters are considered unarmed when they start. So even though it says 1, you really get 2. So it's not like they start with a staff or a blade of some kind. It's unarmed, but it's 2, and then if they switch to a weapon, it's whatever that weapon is. But they are limited in what weapons they can hold. And the text is identical. So there's no difference between the male and female versions of the monk. You refuse to use armor or shields. On the web pages it says metal armor or shields. So there's just a little bit of a question that we were asking Avalon Bill, and I don't think he responded definitively yet. Of course, I've been off the Discord for a couple of days, but the question was, if you add bracers, can he wear bracers? Because notice how he starts out with 3. Does he get 4, or is he just fixed at 3 other than potions or magic to boost his defense? But as you can see, daggers, crossbows, hand axes, short swords, and staffs, not staves. But yeah, this is just exactly what they showed on the web pages. So notice there's only 4 of these cards. At Gen Con they had like more than one of each so that you could see both sides. Because see, each element is on one side or the other. See, you have to use everything else before you use fire. Again, it's weird to have these full-size cards. These would take up a lot of room on the board, you know, if you're doing a virtual game like we like to do. So you got Burning Spirit and Touch of Endless Inferno. And Twisting Torrent, there were some questions about this, whether you can use it anytime your character takes damage or only when, like the whole controversy about healing spells. So in the world of HeroQuest fandom, there's some questions. I take it as, under the North American rules, that you can do a death save. We call it a death save, where it's like Zargon's monsters attack you, your body points go to 0, you have an unused healing spell, you just automatically use it and save yourself from dying. Whereas some players who don't want you to do death saves as much say, no, you can only do that on your own turn. But what are the odds you're going to take damage on your own turn, not have used an action, and still have an unused healing spell left? Like, the only time it's going to happen is if you step on a trap, really. But this is, I mean, these are techniques or styles. These are not spells. So would you apply that same ruling to these or not? So again, I think that's another clue that maybe it's not like that. Maybe the stricter interpretation. I mean, as Avalon Bill would say, you always decide at your own table how you want to interpret the rules, regardless of what the intention was. But I take this to say, activate this technique when you take damage. Anytime you take damage. Doesn't have to be your turn. That's what Avalon Bill was saying, but I'll double check. So we don't know. But Doug Hopkins would have the definitive understanding, because I think he writes all these. Have to use the elemental style, water is exhausted. But I would take it as, you know, anytime you died, you just could quickly use this and cancel the damage that would have killed you. Because he doesn't have any healing. There's Tidal Surge. But there is one rule here. They do say each elemental style, okay, once per turn choose one technique to activate. Doesn't say it's an action, it just says one technique to activate. After you use a technique, that elemental style is exhausted. But the thing is, if you're getting attacked on Zargon's turn, it's not like you could have already activated something on your turn. And it doesn't say it applies to a future or a past turn. Now, could you activate this and then like not use it until your next turn? I suppose, but what they're saying is on your turn you activate it. If Zargon's going to be really strict about it, you could just say, fine, I'm going to activate this technique at the beginning of the quest, and it's just going to stay activated until I take damage, and then you just cancel it. That would be a way around the overly strict death saves Zargon. But again, he could just say, well, and I'm not going to allow that either. I mean, I don't know. Personally, I think players want to stay alive, they want to keep playing. In the European rules, there were no death saves. Your character dies, they're dead. They got to heal themselves before they go to 0. But the nice thing about that is potions can be used anytime. If you have a healing potion, you could use it Zargon's turn, another hero's turn, doesn't matter. But anyway, enough of that. Don't rules lawyer at the table is the bottom line. So we got Eye of the Storm. So you can attack in all 8 directions with 2 dice. The only thing is you can't stack these. Well, someone was saying, well, what if you activate one on a previous turn, and then in this turn you activate another one? Do they work together? Because it's kind of like it modifies an existing action. So some of those maybe you could argue that, some you couldn't. So automatically succeed when jumping over a trap. So here's an example. You could activate this, jump over at one trap, and land on another one that killed you. So then you could, I would say, you could then use Twisting Torrent to escape dying or taking damage, whatever. Maybe you'd fall in the pit, but you wouldn't take a body point of damage, but your turn would still be over. Speak with Stone. Secret Doors and Traps is a single action. Some people already do that as a house rule, and they go, oh, it's useless now. Well, it's not their fault that you made that house rule. I mean, you come up with something else. Maybe it disarms the trap or something. Strength of the Mountain, 2 additional attack dice on an unarmed attack. So instead of 2, it would be 4 for a single attack, and then after that it's exhausted. So yeah, not much there. I mean, there are fewer overall cards than in the other packs. That's 7 cards instead of 12, like for the Knight or the Rogue. But still, and then the figures. Someone was asking, does he have the scars on his chest? Yes, he does. It's hard to see, but there's like some little scratches there. It's the female one. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to get these out without ripping with a pencil from the other side, but thankfully that's the part you don't see. So now you can maybe, oh, the slits. Oh, I see, there's tape there. Oh, so I didn't have to do this. I could have just cut the tape. Okay, fully peel it and take the tape off. So now I can finally remove the figures. Okay, so there's the Wandering Monk. Like a Shaolin monk, but kind of mixed with like a fantasy pirate or something. Maybe Muay Thai fighter. I don't know. They're fantasy characters. They look pretty cool. And in the interview, Ben Carmine was talking about how it would have been easy for them to do like a fantasy style cleric, like a D&D character, but they wanted to make sure that it didn't seem like they were just copying it. All of that extra text on the bottom compared to the male version. Got all this stuff. Yeah, there they are. Compare the monk to the bard. Already you see a massive difference. So with the shiny light, that glimmer, that shimmer on the bard and the druid from that silvery mixture, it almost is like a silver powder that they just kind of mixed in with the, because it's not painted on the red, whereas the monk is basically just the same red, or really darn close to it, like the other heroes. I mean, the shades of red may be just slightly off, like it was a different batch of plastic, but it's all red, whereas this is shiny red. So I think Prophecy Teller and Spirit Queen's Torment are the only ones that are like this for the heroes. So that's pretty much it, except I did want to say this Wandering Monk, this monk hero, some people are kind of concerned, they're worried that he's overpowered. How could he, stack up? But I really don't think that. In our gaming group on Twitch, we've been using him for 5 quests. This will be the 5th quest. Of course, we're playing Rise of the Dread Moon, and with that, I mean, the difficulty is above average, and some of the quests are kind of non-standard. I mean, you've got like stealth missions and, weird but good gimmicks. So He is being challenged in this most recent quest. Like, I think he got surrounded by a bunch of monsters, but he's surviving. And to be fair, we've actually boosted him up a little bit more than maybe what Avalon Hill intended. So we allowed him to use the bracers, which may or may not be what they wanted. And we also allowed him to use a cloak. So he's actually defending with 5. But even without that, I mean, he hasn't actually died yet. He's used his Twisting Torrent quite a few times, though. So it's just a matter of, I think, just like any other group quest where the heroes work together. If they go off on their own, they're going to be in big trouble in short order. Now, if you send the Wandering Monk through the game system, he might have an easy time. But once again, I think if he goes off on his own and tries to win the quest all by himself, he may run into trouble. Because really, he's just got that Twisting Torrent every round. But I mean, his powers don't reset until all the monsters are out of sight. So yes, if it's just a room with 2 monsters in it, sure, he's going to be okay. But if you're playing Frozen Horror, Mage of the Mirror, Rise of the Dread Moon, maybe even like the later quests of Keller's Keep, Return of the Witch Lord, he'll have a pretty tough fight on his hands. And he won't be underpowered either. I think when people say stuff like that, I think that they're not really thinking about how just it goes in general with a quest. Because really, if you have the 4 heroes, is the wizard supposed to do everything by himself and everybody else is supposed to hang back? No. Is the barbarian supposed to win the quest by himself and nobody else does anything? No. The 4 heroes work together. I mean, if it's an easy quest and you know it's an easy quest, which you don't always know, maybe you could send, split the party in 2, have 2 and 2, like the wizard and the barbarian or the dwarf and the elf go together and try to cover the whole map and get all the treasure. But more often than not, you're going to send everybody in the same direction so that you can maximize your attacks against monsters. It's just how it goes. And there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, the game tells you to play that way. So if you choose not to, I mean, I don't know. There's some people that play Hero Quest that complain that the game is too easy, too simple. Whereas for a lot of folks, the simplicity and the fact that it is fairly easy if you're working together and being systematic about it is one of the strengths. But if you really want a challenge that will blow you away, yes, go ahead, play Frozen Horror, play Mage of the Mirror. Those quest packs are over the top difficult. Even if you implement the suggestions that Avalon Hill applied, versus the 1992, play as written versions. So I think with any of these heroes, whether it's the Wandering Monk, the Roger of Elathorn, the Guardian Knight, Commander of the Guardian Knights, the Bard, the Druid, the Warlock, there's always going to be some adjustments. If you take away one of the 4 and you put that new hero in, there's going to be some adjustments. Sargon's going to have to make some concessions. So there might be a place where a specific hero was called for and that hero wasn't in the group. You'll have to make the call. Maybe say, oh, this particular artifact that can only be used by that hero that's no longer there, the new hero can use it, or something like that. Or maybe if it's a weaker hero, okay, maybe there's 1 extra healing potion or something like that. Or maybe there's a little bit of extra gold so that they can get what they need. Something of that kind, that nature. With the Warlock gets to use the Wizard's artifacts. So it's kind of like a replacement for the Wizard, but understandably, you might not necessarily do it that way. You might have the Wizard and the Warlock at the same time. You might have a 5th hero, which Avalon Hill doesn't account for. I mean, they typically just assume you have 4 heroes. You always have 4 heroes except in a solo quest where you have the 1 hero that it was designed for. Except for you did have Into the Northlands where it was for any hero. But I think it's pretty much, it's easy to just assume it's the Barbarian because the other 3 solos are for a Barbarian and it's the strongest hero. I guess you could use the Dwarf. The Dwarf is pretty special because he can disarm the traps. Even a Scout is not quite as good as having the Dwarf, just because if it's one of those traps that does 2 body points of damage if you fail, that kills the Scout. Whereas the Dwarf can bounce back from it. Now, having a toolkit, like the Rogue has, is a 50% chance of disarming a trap. So it's not as good as the dwarf's ability where it's 1 in 6 that he'll fail. But anyway, as far as the monk goes, I don't know which hero he would substitute for. You might say the wizard, but think of it this way. The wizard can heal or buff other people with his abilities, whereas the monk can't do that. All of his powers benefit him. I mean, he can be a support character, but it's similar to the warlock, where it's like all those powers benefit them so that they can stay alive, so that they can help fight the monsters, versus like the elf or the wizard, where they have the ability to cast courage on somebody, cast rock skin on somebody, heal somebody. The druid has a healing ability. The bard has I wanted to call it sharpened blades because that's what we've modded it to. Okay, so get this, the bard we turned into a pirate. So we have used him before in one of the game system quests. We've used him once, maybe twice, and I didn't really have a problem with him at all. I mean, I don't know, I'm still not used to the idea of a bard as a hero. He seems like a comical side character, maybe an NPC, not a main hero. But I realize D&D players love their bards, so okay, whatever. But I was thinking, okay, he's an orc pirate. Instead of inspiring tale, it's sharpened blades, so he can enhance someone else's attack. And he seemed like a really useful hero, especially in those early quests when people don't have a lot of equipment. He could do the diagonal attack with 2. I thought he was fine. I don't think he seemed underpowered. He didn't seem annoying or anything. And we did have another person use... Yeah, we've used him twice, because when we were playing with Sir Death using the companion app, we used the bard. Strange Bus was controlling him, and then more recently we had one of our heroes use the bard, just as the bard. But the first time we assumed that he did not get his armor bonus until he added bracers, which is what the cards lead you to believe, even with the modern version. But we've since learned what they intended, which was he gets the bonus before he adds any armor of any kind. And as long as it's not metal armor, he gets to keep it. So really he's defending with 3 from the outset. So we've played him both ways, under both interpretations, and he seems like a perfectly legitimate hero. Now, if you really want to put these guys through their paces, play them in Mage of the Mirror, play them in Frozen Horror. But be warned, I mean, a fully equipped barbarian, a fully equipped elf in those solo quests gets killed a lot of the time. Like if either Zargon pulls his punches or he adds a lot more bonuses, a lot more stuff, or plays with multiple heroes in those solo quests, unless he does that, there's a very high chance that even the strongest hero will get killed. I mean, unless he gets perfect rolls every time. They were not well play tested. They just weren't. So, and that's nothing against the original designers, because looking at the notes, it looks like they did not have time to finish what they wanted. I mean, there are many ideas left on the cutting room floor, and I'm sure they would have made more fixes if they'd had the time and resources. But it's a little piece of history. So anyway, I would say so far, I'm really excited about Prophecy of Telor. Spirit Queen's Torment, I mean, I had some issues at first, but I think the fact that they fixed all the typos that were in those 2 boxes makes me interested in playing them. And the transparent figures, I think I wasn't really sure what I thought of those. I mean, people were saying, oh yeah, Spirit Queen, they're ghosts, ghostly figures. The quests don't always call for ghostly figures, though. I mean, they have no different stats than any other monster. They're just it's just an aesthetic. And then, flaming monsters for Prophecy of Telor. And I don't really know if the Warlock really goes with this expansion at all, but you could use the Warlock instead of the Wizard. The Bard really is just to take over after one of the heroes dies. And does that mean, if the hero gets a death save, he doesn't get to, it just automatically brings the Bard in? But you could decide. I mean, Zargon decides all this stuff. But I think these quests, I mean, there's a lot of value in these boxes. And I mean, this is not a sponsored video. I paid my own money for these, they were not promo items. So I'm really excited about this one, and I'm fairly excited about this one too. But when am I going to actually get to them? It's going to be a while because we're still playing Mage of the Mirror and Rise of the Dread Moon. But as far as myself and some other people who've looked at the difficulty and just kind of estimating by the number of monster body points and traps and things, I'm thinking that the difficulty of these are comparable to Keller's Keep: Return of the Witch Lord, but they are longer. Because, you know, you got 13 quests here, 14 here, whereas those other ones were only 10. Rise of the Dread Moon, we're still playing. The difficulty seems pretty manageable, whereas Mage of the Mirror, and then especially Frozen Horror, the difficulty is cranked way up, like too high. Like it goes past, you know, this is a good challenge, and up until this is frustrating, unless you make your own changes. Well, that's all I have for today, and thanks for watching. And I guess the next unboxing video, who's to say? I mean, there is Against the Ogre Horde coming up. And it's Jungles of Delthrak. I presume it's still coming out. With the shakeup at Hasbro, we're kind of waiting for some announcements, what they're going to say, but it might be a couple months before we hear anything. Hopefully they'll get us updated, and hopefully the direction of Avalon Hill will not be a disastrous take. I mean, hopefully they stick with I would say the work ethic and the, I guess, dedication that they've shown so far. I mean, I think if they follow the trajectory that they've started, that they'll do fine. They'll do all right, and Hero Quest will be good for a couple more years at least. But we'll see. And honestly, if Hasbro lets us down, the fans will be okay. The fans will carry the game another 30 years without them. But hopefully, for the sake of all the hard work that they've done, I hope that whoever's in charge of the project next has that same respect and dedication and love in what they're doing, rather than just making it a quick cash-in. Because that's the last thing we need with a franchise like this. Too many franchises have been ruined by that, or thinking that they know better than the fans and trying to take it in a bold new direction that really has nobody pleased. All right, but that'll be a future Rantcast. Thanks.